Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm really excited to introduce you guys today to Cory Williams. He's in the Denver metro area with eXp Realty, and he's also the leader of the Victory Group, a growing team of peers and amazing people that is now at 15 agents and growing. So he is going to be sharing his wisdom with us today, and I'm just excited to jump right in. So thanks, Cory, for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So let's just jump in from the beginning. I know you've only been in the business 4 or 5 years, but you've experienced some great success and you've had your journey as we all have. So let's jump in from the beginning, bring us back to how you ended up in this business and what your story's been like since then.
Absolutely. It's been quite an adventure, no doubt. And so I was working in the construction industry, primarily the chief relationship builder for several of the companies that I work for. I had my own carpentry company, so I know my way around homes, and I knew that that my next step was going to be centered around that. But I knew that working for people that weren't necessarily aligned with my goals and visions and maybe even an ethical alignment. So I realized pretty quickly that finding that next path was important. So I started nights and weekends with getting my real estate license, and it became pretty clear pretty quickly that I would be able to educate and empower people in a way that had not been done before in the real estate industry. And so I launched my career in 2015 and really took those relationships that I had built over the course of 15 years in the construction industry and was able to leverage those relationships to start my business in real estate, and just really blessed to have people that instantly supported my business, trusted me with one of the biggest decisions anybody makes in their life, and that's, of course, the purchase or sale of a home. And so really hit the ground running in 2015 and have never looked back since. So can't imagine doing anything else on a daily basis.
I love it. So question for you, when you were in the construction industry, were you also an entrepreneur, 100% commission, or were you a salary plus bonus kind of employee, or what was the nature of your employment status back then?
A combination. Most companies just said, here's your salary, phone, and a vehicle, go do what you do. And so it was a combination of all of that. So certainly incentivized, did some in-home sales for Costco, so kitchens and bathrooms, cabinets and countertops, things of that nature. I quickly realized that I'm not like the guy that's going to sit at your kitchen table until you say yes. And so it was, I really thrived in the consultative type of sales. Again, that relationship building was where I really saw the traction. I did a lot of training and education, but found the most success where it wasn't a high pressure type of sales scenario, but rather a way to help people and help them build exactly what they were looking for.
So earlier, before we were recording, you were talking about the systems that you're developing now to better prepare the agents on your team to have quick success like you did. So I'm kind of curious because I feel like you had a unique value proposition coming from construction into real estate, having an understanding of, the buildings themselves and things that would be threats and things that would be potential, value adds, equity gains, that kind of thing. Did you already bring, just getting a little technical here, did you already bring with you a system or discipline for organizing yourself as a business owner, coming from the previous career into being 100% commission self-employed real estate agent? Did you have certain disciplines that you had already been accustomed to implementing into your life previously that just came naturally to you? Or did you feel like you had to quickly adapt to, the constraints of freedom, if that makes sense? Like a lot of people jump ship into real estate and they're used to having structure. And then the freedom that they experience can actually be sort of suffocating because there's nobody telling them what to do and where to go and, who to see. And so I'm just curious how that transition was for you, and if that was sort of seamless and it was what you were doing before, just in a different industry, or was there a bit of a shock to the system when you jumped ship?
Such a great question. I really had no strategies and systems. I've always just kind of ad libbed. And unfortunately, that is not a good way to go into your own business. And so that's one of the biggest things that I really try to focus on now in educating my other agents is saying, guys, listen, don't do what Cory did. Don't just go. Build your business, double your sales year in and year out, and realize that you don't have the proper systems in place when that time comes. Because you go on this roller coaster like most agents do of, okay, I'm doing all this work, and because I'm doing all the work, now I have a lot of business and I can't do the work and the marketing to get it, and then it all goes away, and it's this cycle. So really putting those systems in place this year has been one of the most freeing, processes that has allowed me to really take a step back from my business and work on my business and not in it. So as I mentioned, it was really a scenario where it was like, hey, do what you do. Do I have responsibilities? Of course. Do I have appointments and things that I have to accomplish? Absolutely. Do I have sales goals? Certainly. But all of that to say that it was sort of organic. And so now having showing procedures in place and writing out a 60-day agent propulsion program to say, hey, what would have really helped me when I started? And then being able to put myself in a position to where I can share that information freely, and allow other agents to take their own spin on it and help coach them on customizing their own personal business plan catered to what they love to do, is just absolutely critical. Because in this, I always tell new agents, like, do what you love to do and everything else will fall in place. Come from a point of giving and focus on giving first, and everything else will fall in place. So I think if you focus on that, people see that, they're attracted to that, and they want to support someone's business who has that approach, and that positivity in not only their business life, but their personal life and their attitude in general.
I love that. So when you were going through your own, it sounds like you had the typical, you got into it, you were hustling, you're coming from a place of contribution, your business takes off organically, and the next thing you know, you're experiencing success, and then the business drops off because you're so busy tending to the files that you don't have time to be creating new business. So was there any coaching or accountability that you were receiving during that time to help you kind of get your focus out from being in the trenches and be able to get that 30,000-foot view to be able to step forward into the role that you're in now?
Yes, but I don't think it was adequate. And that's what's led me to where I am today, because I think that you really have to stop everything. I read Good to Great and Work the System and Tai Chi Ono's Workplace Management. And what I did was I took all of that information and I said, hey, listen, for you to say that you can't teach someone what you've learned in 15 years of construction is just silly. You can't. And so think about it, systematize it, take it in a step-by-step process that allows other agents to show property the way that you do. that allows other agents to say, okay, you started out organically and sort of just the pedal on the right mentality. Let's just go, go, go. And thankfully, I had people that were piling on to support my business, and I still have that today. So really encouraging people to take a step back and put it on paper on purpose was really a critical point in my business, and it's really helped me to help others to, hey, let's use the brake pedal, let's take a step back from this. You've really got to start blocking your time, and you've talked about this in the past. Yes, you're going to be reactive with certain things. That's how this business is. So you really have to make sure that you're taking the time to be proactive, and really get those systems in place and constantly adjust them and analyze them to make sure that they're servicing, most importantly, your well-being. We all know that I call it the oxygen mask syndrome. If you don't have the oxygen mask on, you can't help others. But then, of course, what experience are your clients having? I realized that because I did not have those very strategic systems in place, that sometimes my clients, something would slip through the cracks, and my client would not have a perfect experience. And so, that wears on great agents' hearts and well-being. And so it's like, you know what? We not only owe it to ourselves, but most importantly, we owe it to our clients to make sure that we don't have those moments where things slip through the cracks or they're not getting the highest level of service that they possibly could.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think that the thing you're touching upon here with the brake pedal is very powerful. And I think it's worth digging into here, because I would be curious to know what advice you have for the person who's listening and hears you saying that. And right now, they feel like they're on a speeding train that has no brakes, and they know that they need better systems. They know they need to delegate, or they know they need to clean up their CRM or get a CRM to begin with, or whatever the case might be. And they're just terrified of taking their foot off the gas because of the fear of going backwards to the days when maybe things weren't looking so good, right? So it's a weird catch 22, because when the business is flying and you're on the hamster wheel speeding, and you're just trying to keep up and you're grateful for the business, you feel so grateful that you're willing to sort of like suffer through that season, if you will. So I think it's really powerful what you're talking about here, which you just said, stop. You just have to let it all stop, put the brakes on, get better organized, so that the next time you reach this level of success, you can do it at peace with yourself, and at peace with the fact that your clients are getting a consistent level of service that is possible only with the right system. So, what's your advice to someone who's listening and hears this and thinks there's no way, because I would be afraid my business would slow down?
Yeah, boy, that sounds familiar. It's almost like a voice in my head that I heard before. Uh, Here's all I would say to those listening. If you don't do it, it's going to do it for you. You have two choices: stop and do it yourself and do it on your terms, or your business is going to do it for you. I promise you. So you just really, I think one of the biggest things that people listening that have that fear is you really need to educate yourself prior to doing that, because oftentimes it seems like a daunting task. It seems like, okay, well, I've never done this before. How am I going to do it? And most importantly, how am I going to do it successfully and efficiently and effectively? And so you need to really put education at the forefront of your mind and listen to those that have done it successfully in the past. Books like Good to Great, books like Work the System. We're not reinventing the wheel. The round wheel rolls best. If you try to create a square wheel, it's not going to roll effectively. I can promise you. So don't reinvent that. Learn, adapt it to your own personal style, and take a step back and really realize what's most important to you. One of the biggest things that I had to do is kind of say, hey, let me boil this down to one phrase, or let's keep it very simple here. I just said, hey, I want to consistently work towards working less. Very simple notion. But it means that every action that I have is working towards reducing the amount of work that has to go into creating a system, uh, serving clients at a high level, showing properties effectively and efficiently, streamlining my sales listing presentation. I've heard you talk about this in other instances too, just to keep it simple mentality. This business can be as complex or as simple as you want to make it. And so, I always recommend to my new agents, like, start with 15 spinning plates, but in 6 months, we need to have that down to 5, and you need to be very dialed in and intentional about what you're doing. So if you're out there and you're wondering, hey, how do I do this? How do I, start this process? Pick up a book, start with those books, take a recommendation from your podcast, talk with other agents, get out there, and even other business owners and maybe most importantly, other business owners in other industries, and really take a step back from your business, analyze what is most important, and start putting the pen to paper, and getting all of your thoughts on a piece of paper. You talked about this previously in a podcast. Just put yourself in a room to where you can you can eliminate all of the distractions and just focus on what you know is most important, what has brought you to be successful up until this point, and really start with those building blocks and go from there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I was just talking with some coaching clients today about what you just mentioned, is that if you're getting started, and just read and reach out to people that are successful, because most folks that I know that are happy and successful have a servant heart first and foremost, and they want to help people, and they want to help people succeed faster than they did, because they know that it was a struggle in the beginning. And if people turn you down and don't have the time of day for you, then chances are they're not your people anyway. So there are people out there that want to help you. And if you can just soak up that knowledge and be hungry for it and be humble, then you can get where you're trying to go much faster. I love that. What are your thoughts? Just curious. We've talked a lot about the idea of creating systems and streamlining things. What are your feelings on delegation, and how do you guide your agents on, when to delegate, if they should delegate, what to delegate, that kind of thing? I'm just curious.
I think I speak on behalf of most of successful entrepreneurs when I say, man, learning how to delegate and when, and having the wherewithal to be able to do that successfully is one of the biggest challenges, because we just have that mindset that we're the ones that built this business and we're the ones that created all of these opportunities, and so we just need to be there for our clients. That's number one. Number two is that we put ourselves in the shoes of our client and say, they were referred to me. My business is all referral. So they were referred to me. They expect me. All of those types of things. But as I've continued to talk to more successful agents, being more successful than myself, they've said, hey, listen, once you make that leap, you're going to realize that your clients are actually being serviced at a higher level. And once you build the right systems and the right you get the right people on the bus. That's what Good to Great's all about, right? Is making sure that you've got the right people in the right seat on the bus, and that when they tell you to turn left at the next intersection, you better turn left. And so really creating that system to give you that confidence that you need to make that transition. Um, and, this segues or kind of parlays into what we were just talking about, like, do it now. So there's no time like the present to absolutely, whether it's just an hour a day, to start building those systems in place, start anticipating what your next delegation is going to be. For me, it's going to be having buyer's agents, because that the showing process consumes a lot of time, which is positive. But I can systematize that for other agents and allow them to be successful based on the processes that I've used in the past. So as you're analyzing that, just really look at, hey, what is the highest and best use of my time? Where are my clients getting the most value out of the investment that I bring to the table? And while I realized they were getting value, when I showed property, I realized that taking a step back and sort of stepping into the cockpit and being the captain is the highest and best use of my time. Listen, when you're on a flight, the captain's never going to get you a cocktail. They're not going to get you a blanket when you're cold. But they're going to get you from point A to point B. No, you can't talk to them. And no, you can't step in the cockpit and interrupt what they're doing, but they're going to be there. They're going to make sure that everything's happening, and that you're having the best possible experience on their flight. But they're not going to be the ones, doing the day-to-day items, but they're going to make sure that your experience is successful from A to Z, and you'll get a chance to thank them on your way out the door onto the tarmac.
I love that analogy. I've never heard that one before, but having come from being a solo technician in the mortgage world and then now having this amazing team of unicorns, I always joke that, we combine our gifts to create a superhuman, because there's no way that any of us are gifted at all things that result in a successful, organized process with follow-up and touches and all this other stuff that make the client experience feel amazing, right? And so if you can find people that have gifts that complement your gifts, then together you can create a superhuman that can give a much better experience than a solo person can do. And it might take some trial and error to get there and get the right people on the bus and everybody in the right seat. And it's always molding, but it's powerful. And it's also more fun to share the journey, I think. So, I love that. I love the do it now philosophy too. Last thing here, Cory, because I love having people like you on the show where I can just feel your passion and authenticity kind of shine through here. And I'm sure that the people listening are feeling drawn to that magnetism as well. If folks want to follow you or connect with you or pick your brain, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, all the social media platforms, you can find me there. Anybody wants to pick up the phone, 720-971-1863. I'm at Properties by Cory on Instagram. So always happy to help or grab a cup of coffee and offer any advice that I can. So, like I say, always here to assist in any way possible.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. And guys, I've never mentioned this before, but if anybody is curious about how, when, what, and to whom you delegate to, I do have a team building workshop that I have been teaching in the Denver metro area and and in the mountains in Colorado, which eventually we'll be offering through an online webinar. So if you have interest in that workshop, please contact me through the website, pursuingfreedom.com. And if you have not heard about the business planning workshops, to make sure that you prepare and plan for success in 2020, and more importantly, happiness and time freedom and all the good stuff, be sure to contact me at pursuingfreedom.com, because we're here to be a resource to you on your journey and to make this life awesome. So thanks again, Cory. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Aaron. And count me in for both of those endeavors. So I'll sign up today.
All right. I can look forward to it. All right, everybody. I love and appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, I beg you, be sure to subscribe on the podcast on iTunes or wherever you're consuming the content, and leave a review, because it helps us continue to attract these great guests like Cory, and make sure that people are able to find this content that will help you on your way. So thanks again. Have an awesome day.